Hi everyone, this is Michael Brook from Rapid Couples Counseling. This is another parody video, how to make 2024 worse than 2023. Now, around this time of year, lots of people make New Year's resolutions to try and improve the next year compared to the last year. Well, I say that's not a good idea, and most of the time it doesn't work. So let's come up with some anti-New Year's resolutions, or how to make 2024 worse than 2023. Well, if you're going to make the new year worse than the previous year, it's really, really important that you don't learn from your mistakes. It's really important that you don't look at the last year and look at what worked, because you don't want to improve things. So you want to make sure that you don't learn from your mistakes and you get to repeat them over and over and over. It's really important that you make sure you don't focus on anything you did correctly last year. Instead, you need to look at all the things you've done wrong and make sure you replicate them, but do them harder. So that's step number one. Step number two, it's really important, if you're going to make the new year worse than the previous year, that you blame everybody else. You need to take the victim mentality. You need to make sure that you take the most amount of victimhood that you can. Because when you take the victim position, you give up any and all responsibility for your own outcomes. You make sure you don't take responsibility. You make sure you blame other people. Blame as many people as you can. Blame as many things as you can. Blame the patriarchy, blame men, blame society, blame capitalism, blame your mother-in-law, blame your ex-husband, blame your ex-boyfriend, blame everyone for all the outcomes you've had in your life that haven't worked out well, and make sure you focus on the fact that you're as big a victim as you possibly can, because if you do that, you'll never take any responsibility for what you bring to your life. You'll never take any responsibility for your outcomes, and you can permanently stay in a place of no action and no movement. So the next thing is you need to do is, in order to make 2024 worse than 2023, is you need to make sure you make no positive change. You don't want things to improve. So you need to make sure you do exactly the same things that you did before, or at least, if you are going to make changes, make sure they're negative. So if you're thinking about your diet and your weight, go buy some donuts. If you're having junk food once or twice a week, make it 4 or 5 times a week. If you're doing exercise, cut that shit out. You don't need to be healthy, because there's a medical system around that when you're 400 kilos and you're clinically obese and your heart's struggling to pump any blood you have through the mountains of fat that's on your body, well, you need to make sure that that's going to be the case, and because that way the other people can look after you, and then that way you can make sure you take no responsibility at all. So make sure you make no positive changes. Next thing you need to do to make 2024 worse than 2023 is engage in as many addictions as you possibly can. So addictions are the killer of joy in life, and their coping mechanisms frequently get out of control. So you want to make sure, if you're going to make 2024 worse than 2023, is engage in as many addictions as you can. Get creative. There's a number of things that most people typically get addicted to. They get addicted to alcohol, they get addicted to drugs, they get addicted to porn, they get addicted to gambling, and also they get addicted to social media. So it's really important to make sure you engage in as many addictions as you can. Drink as much as you can, have as many drugs as you can, watch as much porn as you can, be as unattractive as you can, eat as much food as you can, and make sure you look at as much social media as you can. Who needs to take responsibility in your life when you can easily look at TikTok videos for 15 hours a day? Now, the next thing you need to do is make sure you have no plan. Because if you have a plan about how to improve your life, well, things might get better. So it's really important to make sure you don't plan for anything. Make sure you're like this little twig bouncing on the sea of uncertainty, and life will take you this way or that. And you can make sure that you have 0 plans for everything. So wake up in the morning and go, I have no clue what's going on today, and that's fine. And when something happens, something negative happens that could have possibly be foreseen, that you could have possibly prevented, when that negative thing happens, that allows you to take the victim position and blame somebody else. And so that will perpetuate and make sure you never make any forward movement. Now the next thing is you make sure you take no action. Even if you do find something that can improve your life, which we hope doesn't happen, even if you do find something that you can do to improve your life, make sure you take no action on it. Procrastination is the enemy of success. You need to make sure you procrastinate as much as you can. So if you do come up with something or you might take no action, make sure you don't do it. Put it off. Put it off for tomorrow. Put it off for the day after tomorrow. In fact, put it off for every tomorrow after that, so that you make sure you take no action and make sure you stay completely and totally stuck where you are, as if you're a tree rooted into the ground. And that way you make sure your tree will rot and fall over and will be hit by a lightning bolt. Now, the next thing is you make sure you need to be as selfish as you possibly can. Because what you don't want is people helping you. And even if they help you, you need to make sure they instantly regret it. You need to make sure you're incredibly selfish. You need to make sure that people pander to you at all times. It might be an idea to do some research on narcissism and take on narcissistic traits as much as you can. You need to make sure the people around you are actually punished for trying to help you. And sooner or later they'll give up, and that will ensure that 2024 is worse than 2023. And finally, what you need to do is focus on the short term. Focus on social media. Focus on being perpetually outraged. Focus on being perpetually offended. Focus on the latest TikTok dance trend, whether it's shuffle dancing or the Rasputin dance or whatever it is. You need to make sure you focus on social media so that you'll never, ever, ever pay any attention to anything other than the short-term vacuous 30-second clips coming out of TikTok. And if you do that, you'll never see the long-term picture. You'll never see what works. You'll never do things that take any longer than 30 seconds. And you'll never see that success requires you having the attention span greater than a goldfish. So you need to make sure you shrink your attention span so you have the attention span worse than a goldfish. And the best way to do that is watch social media and watch TikTok, right? So you need to make sure you do those things. Now, this is just a brief summary of how to make your 2024 worse than 2023. I hope you've realized this is a parody video. I would not in any way recommend any of these things. But if you want to make sure 2024 is worse than 2023, well, that's a pretty good list. This is Michael Brook from Rapid Couples Counseling Hypnotherapy. I hope this video you will completely disregard. Thanks very much for watching this video. Please take the time to like and subscribe to the channel. And I look forward to making more quality content for you shortly.